BJ's hopes to open a gas station in Hyannis, but traffic patterns cause concern for the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have details on this week's episode of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, July 23rd, 2015. I'm Sarah Mantle. BJ's hopes to take over the Save-On gas station on Route 132 in Hyannis. The company applied for a variance this week with the Zoning Board of Appeals. Attorney Michael Scott urged the board to support the variance during this week's meeting.
As you mentioned, we're here to discuss the zoning relief we're seeking for the redevelopment of the, which is presently the Save-On gas, into a BJ's Wholesale Club gas station. There are 4 components of the relief that we're seeking. All of them except for one has been addressed previously by the ZBA for the current site. The first is we're seeking a further variance relief from the front yard setback for Hinckley Road. The required setback is 60. Relief was granted in variance number 1995-21 to allow a 50-foot setback, and we are seeking a setback of 8 feet on Hinckley Road. Second form of relief is amendment to variance number 1995-21 relative to the curb cut configurations. This variance contains some conditions relative to the location and width of the curb cuts. We wish to eliminate one curb cut on Iona Road and reconfigure the curb cuts on Hinckley. The third is a special permit for the extension of a non-conforming dimension, that is impervious area. As you mentioned, there's a previous special permit that allowed for the impervious area to be increased up to 89% if necessary, and that was special permit number 1995-43. We are seeking 84%, 84.8. And the last is a special permit for the extension of a non-conforming use, which is the underground storage tanks within the groundwater protection district, and we're seeking to increase the storage capacity by 28,000 gallons. I'd like to provide a brief summary of the property and the proposal and then turn it over to our engineers that I introduced earlier to go into the project in greater detail. At the end of the presentation, I'm happy to address each of the components of the relief as well as the bases for the relief and the reasons why we believe that we meet the appropriate standards. As you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, the civic property is at 590 Iona Road. It has unique because it has frontage on two ways, Route 132 and Hinckley Road. It's in the HB zoning district and in the groundwater protection district. It was originally developed as a gas station in 1955, and as such, the use as a gas station as well as for underground storage tanks is a pre-existing non-conforming use, which we've confirmed with Mr. Perry. The current improvements include a 47 by 30 canopy, setback just 2 feet from Iona Road, some dispensing islands, service bays, facilities, and 3 underground storage tanks. The application references 30,000 square feet, but subsequent to filing the application, we actually got the copies of the underground storage tanks permit and registrations, and it shows that there is 3 12,000 gallon storage tanks, so for a total of 36,000 gallons. So our pre-existing conditions now are 36,000 gallons. The proposal is to demolish all of those existing features. This includes removal and elimination of many features that have the possibility for being sources of harm to the environment, and these include, currently the property is being used for on-site vehicle and boat storage, vehicular repair and oil change operations. There's hydraulic lifts. There's 27-year-old fuel storage and leak detection systems. There's outdated stormwater management systems, and there's also an on-site septic system. So all of that will be removed. We're proposing to install a new canopy set further back from Iona Road, about 50 feet, but closer to Hinckley Road. New pumps, gas kiosk, new state-of-the-art underground storage tanks, plus monitoring systems, which will go into great detail during the presentation. With a total capacity of 64,000 gallons, the notice is a little bit off in that regard, but its total of 64,000 gallons is the aggregate capacity of the 3 storage tanks.
Attorney Bruce Gilmore represented the Barnstable Municipal Airport at the meeting. Gilmore argued that the proposed station would be a huge draw for customers wanting cheaper gas and opposed the current plan.
And I would simply suggest, and this is not to be presumptuous, all of you live in town, and all of you are familiar with the Rotary, Wendy's, Uno's, and this gas station. I went over there today to prepare for tonight, and it took me almost 30 seconds to get out of Hinckley Road with the traffic coming out of the Rotary. Now that's at 4 o'clock. It wasn't, quote, rush hour. It is the summer. I appreciate that Vanessa Hangen did their work in mid-March, but I'd like to make a couple of observations. That area clearly has been studied for some period of time, and I brought with me tonight some work that VHB has done in that area. You may not be aware of it, but Vanessa Hangen did the work for the freight tool outlet, coincidentally the Rogers and Gray Pancake Man location that was consolidated. And interestingly enough, the report was done by Mr. Hart. I'm going to give it to you tonight, but I'd like to quote from the report. It says, "Since the submission of the traffic impact assessment and through consultation with the Cape Cod Commission and the town of Barnstable, a proponent has committed to improving safety on the driveway on 132 via the construction of a roadway median. And the reason for the median was to prevent left-hand turns in or out of the site." Now, if you look at the BJ's proposed gas station site, the airport, when it did its terminal, and it was an issue that was litigated, it went before the Cape Cod Commission, the airport was required to put a median from the very small median at the Rotary all the way past Hinckley Road. And the reason for that should be fairly obvious. The left-hand turns in and out of Hinckley Road were hazardous. And so to prevent those kinds of movements, the Cape Cod Commission required and the court upheld the construction of that median. We didn't oppose it. It was opposed, obviously, by Wendy's because people couldn't make left-hand turns in and out of Wendy's. That's what that was about. But in any event, I'll get to the airport situation. But the upshot of the whole thing is Vanessa Hangen and this particular expert, Mr. Hart, agreed that there was a need for a median and recommended it. Now, what is different from a facility a block and a half up the road from this one? The only difference is this is closer to the Rotary where people come shooting out of that corner past Wendy's and Uno's. And so to allow any vehicle access in or out on left-hand turns, to me, is irresponsible. And so I will give this report to you. It also deals with the Rotary in the year 2007. Now, my experience is that the traffic in that area has not abated since 2007. If anything, it's worse. And we say that every single spring and every single fall. The volume of traffic continues to increase on a road structure that was developed in the 1930s. And that's a fact. So I would suggest, first of all, that any median or any approval would include a median past BJ's so that there would be no possibility of that kind of an accident. And those of us who live in the area, I represented a poor fellow who T-boned a van with children in it coming out of the Christmas tree shop. They were making a turn, a left-hand turn, where none is supposed to take place. All of them ended up at the Cape Cod Hospital. And so these aren't things that are possible. They happen, and they happen with regrettable frequency.
After many questions from members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the board voted to continue the matter until its next meeting August 12th. At that time, 2 peer review studies are expected to be complete. We'll be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will have our weekly arts and culture segment. We'll chat with Director of Leisure Services, Patty Machado. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.